All right, ladies and gentlemen, and we are back. Yes, the entry, today's topic and discussion is on Justice Prevails. This is part two, a continuation with the esteemed and acclaimed attorney Charles Portz out of the state of Texas. Very, very successful in all of his doings. And as we're picking up, previously I was bringing forth a quote by Mr. Ted Koppel. As he put it, it is better to be guilty and wealthy or guilty and rich versus poor and innocent. And this is the issue right now, Charles, I wanted to, get back to, as I was talking to you about, billable hours, and you were saying, oh, yes, well, it depends and things of that nature, the nature of that. Right. What does it depend upon?
Well, the amount of work you have to do. I mean, we get anywhere from like $250 an hour to $1,000 an hour.
Right, absolutely.
But the thing of it is, sometimes a murder case is easier or cheaper to represent a person than a forgery case or some type of theft cases.
Okay.
A murder, you have a dead body, a gun, and somebody who had the gun. So there's not a whole lot to prove, okay? But on an accounting theft type situation or forgery or something like that, or sometimes drug cases, it's a lot. Mm-hmm. Because you got to go back and show all this stuff. I'm working on a case right now that the woman has been deprived of her mother for 7 years. And the attorneys have been taking all the money, all the money, all the money, all the money. She's not even allowed to see her mother. And that's right here in Los Angeles and San Diego. And we were in court on that yesterday. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of money spent on that. Mm-hmm. But people get arrested and they don't have money. And a lot of people that are in jail right now or on probation and who have a conviction hanging over their head, they plead guilty simply because they don't have the money to go to trial. A lot of people do that.
Absolutely. And these are very, very critical issues, Charles, because even as I started out here and on that particular note, okay, great, yes, they plead guilty because they don't have the money, but then also because of the politics of the business, a lot of it
Right.
is even encouraged.
Right. Exactly.
Oh,
right.
A lot of it is encouraged even by the defense, because I've heard of situations where the defense will then motivate the client to plead guilty just so therefore they don't have to go through the whole trial thing and all of the
Right.
drawing out the money,
Mm-hmm.
the research, development, all of the motions and so on and so forth.
Right.
So it makes it easier for everybody. This is in light of the fact that the person is innocent.
Exactly. Yeah. And what a lot of people don't realize is this. Now, this is like in the Brandy Briggs case, and this is how I got her out of prison. On the day of trial, the attorney told her, young lady, unless you have $10,000 a day to hire experts to testify on your behalf, you're going to go to prison for the rest of your life. You'll never see your other child again. You'll never see your parents again. However, you're a good girl. If you go in there and just tell that judge you hurt your child, you'll get probation and you'll go home today. Everything will be resolved. Her mother, her father, her husband sat down in the hallway and they cried. They said, we don't have the $10,000 for experts. I'm just going to tell the judge I hurt my baby and I'll get probation to go home today. The problem is the attorney never had to deal with the prosecutor or the judge that she would get probation on a plea of guilty. So the judge gave her 17 years in prison. That's when the family came to me. And that happens to a lot of people, okay? They get scared into pleading guilty. Maybe the prosecutor will say, if you don't plead guilty, we're going to go to trial and I'm going to get you 10 years in prison or life in prison or whatever. You don't have the money, okay? So you plead guilty. What a lot of people don't realize is you have a constitutional right to a fair trial. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, the state has got to appoint you an attorney. Now, here's the other thing. You got to make sure your attorney's doing a good job, because some states and some lawyers make their living through court appointments. Mm-hmm. Now, many judges If they don't plead the person guilty or resolve the case, they don't get any more appointments. You see? So that's what you have to watch and write down everything your lawyer's doing or not doing. So you can eventually maybe get it to another lawyer.
Okay, now let's talk on this particular point, which is that very, very same issue here. When you're dealing with the general public, most people who have jobs and things of that nature and make an honest living, a lot of them, Charles, are intimidated by attorneys. And then not only that, congruent to like them going to a doctor, it's like whatever the doctor says goes.
Exactly.
So therefore, when they go to an attorney, it's whatever he says goes, right?
Right.
So then they even have not developed the esteem or the necessities to say, hey, wait a minute, I don't necessarily think that this is going my way or whatever have you. So they would even say, oh, wait a minute, I need to get someone else because this person is really not representing me,
Right.
to the utmost. I mean,
yeah, right. See, that's why there needs to be, and there are some organizations, and there needs to be more where a person can go and get some legal advice. Not that they're going to represent them because, like I say, lawyers have to pay their mortgage, they have to buy gas, they have to pay their car. But there should be somebody else you can go and consult with to make sure that the attorney that's representing you is doing things right.
Absolutely. Much like when a person has an illness and they have to have a procedure, an operation, a lot of times they say, well, you should get a second or third opinion.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Now, how many times when people get in trouble do they get a second or third opinion from a legal standpoint of view prior to them moving forward to try to resolve that issue?
And this is what they should do. Okay? If they don't have a lot of money, they get a court-appointed lawyer. You got to make sure they're doing their job right. Or if you don't have a lot of money, say, you may scratch all your savings together and everything else and be able to pay a lawyer $2,000 or $3,000. Well, that lawyer may not want to go to trial for that. So he's going to scare you into pleading guilty.
Right. There you go.